Good afternoon. This is my reading on Ginni and Clarence Thomas. It's quite interesting. But I always say that. So right here we have the worry doll representing Clarence. He's an earth, face up, meaning he's worried. And we have the Ginni worry doll face down on the spoke of mineral. Tomorrow is the immunity hearing, oral argument in the Supreme Court, last day of their term. You have the Clarence worry doll. One hand is pointing here at the elephant ring on its side. When the ring is on its side, passing through a portal, this is represented with this ring January 6th. On the other hand is a left hand here. So it's almost like receptive or indirectly affecting this. So this is in home, and I believe this is, although this is about January 6th, I believe this is current. And it says, at first I thought it was a 6, meaning January 6th, which it does. But then it's the 9 is here with the underline. So this is the case before the Supreme Court. And there is a shell here. So you have the court, you have a shell. It's almost welcoming, and there's a sneaker. So the sneakers, I found these, there's 2 of them in black and white. This reminds me, or kind of symbolically ties into Trump and selling his secrets, one of his gimmicks or tricks to get money or get support. But there's 2 sneakers, one up, one down. It reminds me there's 2 snake bones right here, very close to each other. There's 2 shells right here, one up, one down. There's the left hand and the right hand, very close to each other. And within this, it's with this left to right, this 1 and 2, it represents the complete tie or interwoven nature of the Clarence-Ginni relationship. So Clarence is worried about this. Now this shell is down, so I'm wondering if he actually thinks that he should maybe recuse himself from this, but I don't know that he would. Will he recuse himself? It would be very smart if he recused himself. But he's also in another January 6th case about interpretation of the law that I think it represents this. And without going into the technical details of that, I think there's 350 of the January 6th prosecutions that involve a particular laws or phrase, and that hearing was already held. I believe there's here's a bird cage, almost like a jail with a bird in it. Then you have these shells down, like trying to assist the story for those that are in jail from the Wedeme, from the ones that have gotten trouble. And this is the relationship ring that the wife overlaps with the Wedeme, with the MAGA, this is the MAGA crowd. Wife overlaps with the use of the platform of power. His vote is his platform of power. So in this scenario, he has 2 key cases that he's worried about how he interacts because he's linked to his wife. And when we look at Ginni over here, she is face down, surrendered, and with the shell up, and with the blue water shell close by and a crystal ashe. I think with this shell up right in the checkpoint for a mineral, which is everything copacetic, I think she believes that everything's going to be okay and Trump will be president. And in her consciousness, see all the shells up here? But in the deep water, there's wisdom that she doesn't realize, and there's shells down here. So there are those that have said she's a bit delusional, which may be true, but she's also very much a part and parcel from this, for entertainment purposes only, involved in trying to impact January 6th. This is the female figure here, the visionary here, directly acting by speaking. And before I came on to do this or started to move the shells, I was looking up, she saw this in one of her quotes to Mark Meadows, her close relationship with power, with basically the office of the president with Mark Meadows. The little mushroom here reminds me of the psyop, believing that she's protected, but yet she was involved in talking and creating the story and gaining momentum. Her hand is directly involved in bringing about January 6th. I don't know, this doesn't say whether she helped with money, but she certainly used her voice. And it's in combination with the Texas boot here. Part of their key benefactors from Texas, and also you have a senator from Texas. So with his spouse and partner and reportedly best friend all tied in to, at least in a very vocal way, to what happened on January 6th. It creates some worry for him. And it also brings a lot of focus. This is an organization, brings a lot of attention and focus to the Supreme Court itself. And with the left and right hand here, first I thought, okay, this is maybe Jenny's hand, this is maybe Clarence's hand, but it's so intermixed between the two that it is somewhat interchangeable. And this, I believe, is trying to influence the other case of those that are in jail. And one way to attack that case is to say that particular law didn't apply because it was for a corporation based on Another is to say here's the cup, which I got from intent, that there's a problem with intent in the law, that it doesn't have a clear intent in the way that the law is written, although arguably the way it is enforced, it has a clear intent. And then it has the backpack here, which I would say means documents. So this covers the attacks, potential attacks that could be put on that law to provide release to this group. Now, in this, which I believe right here, because this represents a document, and this is mineral, a story burning to come out, the deep water, which refers over here to the deep wisdom, and also about the coup planning, which is all over here in consciousness. It is possible that Ginni is mentioned in indictments that we haven't seen. It could be from Jack Smith's group, or it could be that they've turned a case over to corruption. Public corruption goes with a different group within a DOJ. This is similar to what Mueller did. He took some cases and he, as special counsel, and others he referred to the DOJ. Within other departments within the DOJ. There's crystals here, so it's not yet acted upon. This is actively going where the crystals here, where there's a key here. And when I put the leopard with the spots here, it has the justice, and we have this repetitive motions. This is a stalking and a key to unlock. So justice is essentially stalking this plan, this event, what took place behind January 6th. There's a scrutiny of the money. There's another portal created with the Ginni ring here and a shell down almost blocking it. And when I look at this, would they actually pass through this? It's a whole other opening into another realm to actually indict a Supreme Court justice's wife, who don't have immunity as a wife, but even the Supreme Court justices don't have immunity. So would they go through this? And it's almost like, here's the sacred ring. It would really be a push against the power and organization of the Supreme Court, and it would be very public and transformational. And it could make things worse. But in the caveat, here's nature. Nature can mean chaos and change and rebel rousers. So in here, we still have a consortium. There's not a lot of energy around this, but you have the consortium ring. Arguably, this is Trump and other allies. There's an airplane there. There's a piece of the Department of Justice that's also in this that have come into an agreement. There is still, and we see this in the documents being prepared by the groups that support Trump, of what they will do to the Department of Justice when Trump's reelected. We have basically an active, ongoing coup. And this is the odd thing to me, is that this blame Garland, I don't agree with that. I would say Merrick Garland understands. My point of view is we basically have all levels of government that were involved with the coup, including, arguably for entertainment purposes only, the Supreme Court, at least through one level away in relationship, but arguably involved in a coup. And that coup organization is ongoing and is still supporting Trump, because when you listen to Judge Ludick's interview, I just was listening to a repeat of that, it's clear that when we have, you talk about catch and kill in the current case in New York, this is catch and kill, or at least catch and kill by delay. They caught the immunity case to delay, and similar to what's happening in Florida is catch and delay, which results in killing the case till after the election. And there's some scheme by which this would win. One of the main ways to take over in terms of the presidency again, and if they can't, Trump won't get the popular vote, but if he can't get enough electoral college votes, the game plan is to stop Biden from getting 270 votes. And if Biden can't get a sufficient number of electoral college votes, then it goes to the House of Representatives, and then it's voted. Each state has 2. So we have more, if you have more red states than you have blue states, then, or more representatives that are primarily blue versus red versus purple, then it's the number of states that would determine the presidency. And that's the scheme by which they can get Trump in. But in that scenario, there might be quasi-legal steps or quasi funny things that go on that could end up in the Supreme Court, by which the Supreme Court can support a coup. And arguably, by what they're doing and keeping the stay in place, we have some members that are very clearly playing a part of this. So I don't know, for the Department of Justice to actually indict, to follow this pathway and actually go through that portal to pre-election indict a Supreme Court justice's wife, it could set the country against Biden, or it could help. I don't know what would be. But some of it might hinge on whether Clarence pulls back and recuses, possibly. But I'm not sure what will happen in this. Interesting, though, just as a side note, there is a reporter or a publication that have asked for all the cases that went, the grand jury cases regarding Trump and the January 6th Jack Smith case, even before Jack Smith took over, of all the, we don't see because they're grand jury, all these secret proceedings went by, because Trump claimed privilege for everything. They're trying to get those released, and we'll see what happens. But it might be a disclosure of what was going on behind the scenes that we don't know about. But one more thing I would say about Merrick Garland is that for those people that he's appointed, not on the previous picked Trump lawyers, but for the ones that he's put in charge of things related to Trump January 6th, they're top notch. The solicitor arguing cases in the Supreme Court, absolutely top notch, brilliant. The legal work that's been done by Jack Smith or some of the others, it is excellent by all accounts. And he is, after all, a key person to understand how everything works. Okay, so here we have it. It's going to be an interesting next few months. That's all I can say.